Indie, quirky, artsy, coming of age, whimsy, all these terms become lost in the parlance of describing what was once the independent artist, now the independent mainstream artist. In the 2000s, with the rise of Sofia Coppola, Diablo Cody, and Spike Jonze and Wes Anderson, Michael Cera, indie entered the mainstream American consciousness. The stories of these artists was about growing up outside the norm, yet they did not realize that they were establishing the norm for the generation to follow. The alternative had become the mainstream, and like Dada in the 1910s or punk rock in the 70s, the angsty expression of misunderstood youth had lost its merit but reached prominence. Our Great War became the one of growing up. Our Margaret Thatcher were our parents. I guess I'm not talking just about indie anymore, but indie coming of age stories. I remember telling my partner how I was obsessing over Juno. Quite simply, they told me, "You don't like Juno, you just want to be Juno." But maybe I'm wrong. What even was indie? I think the answer to that is the same as Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart on trying to describe hardcore pornography. I know it when I see it. But that's the thing. That's all I could see. Indie became my pornography and I would get defensive of it, obsessed by it. I don't know if I was the only one. Revisionist, ironic, and postmodern indie film to me became the tenets of my style, the building block of my cinematic ventures. But a rigid adherence mixed with my ADHD were a detrimental combination. 2 years of film school and I refused to learn actual basics. Everything I did had to be indie, feel indie, to the point where nothing did and I would fail classes. I faltered and I left school. In fact, my relation to film was engendered by mental illnesses. I was good at making films as a teen because I disassociate easily, and I would constantly view myself from the outside from at least 3 different camera angles. But even that suffering didn't feel like it was enough. My mental illness had to be indie-worthy. I felt fake. I wanted my mental illness to sync to the ones depicted on screen or sung into my headphones. Indie was more than just a trend for me. It was an identity I clung onto and that was nearly impossible to let go of. My friend Caroline and I had a love-hate relationship with Silver Linings Playbook. I wanted to be those characters, but Caroline would be frustrated about how it depicted mental illness. Being mentally ill isn't just about being a goth Jennifer Lawrence, Caroline would say. But that's all it was. Disassociation. It was not my fault. I loved the little indie films I made in high school, and that's all it should have been. But by the first year after I left college, I didn't really care anymore with the obsession. Life felt mundane, and eventually I came to hate that too. The fad with indie was, well, faded. Just like that, I didn't disassociate anymore and I think I got better. But that too, I came to dislike. The angst of being counterculture was no longer there to push me forward. I had accepted my life was no longer a movie, but I yearned for it to be. Indie film was a specter that was ever present. Stranger Things, House of Cards, and blockbusters had utilized the methods of previous films that were indie, or that I considered it to be. I didn't care as much, and that bothered me. I wandered the streets of New York, reminiscing about a past that was not that beautiful. I couldn't disassociate, but that meant I no longer saw life in 3 different angles. I forced a return to what I thought made me happy when I was younger. I forced myself to listen to music I thought I loved, yet was terrified to watch indie movies that I thought molded me. I would rant to my friends about how I wasn't myself anymore. I followed around a few friends, put up a nice image, even extraed in a few music videos for some indie band. I followed one band in particular. Their name was Sunflower Bean, and me and about 10 other people made up their core group of fans. One night, I heard him play an untitled song while I was brooding in the middle of a crowd, and I couldn't help but cry even though I couldn't decipher the lyrics. Then, it came back. My mind began to wander for the first time in months. I saw bullets pierce through a pink carpet in slow motion. Then one day, I saw me in one of their videos. Ooh, there I am, with the bleached hair. And there again, to the left of the screen. And yeah, there again.
What's it like being young in 2017?
It was hard, but the one thing I realized was that I was actually.
Misunderstood?
Oh, yeah, that's me again. Yeah, misunderstood. And yeah, I didn't care much for indie anymore after this video. I started caring about people. And then one day, I saw an essay film, Voyagers by Penny Lane, and when magnetic fields blasted over footage of rockets, I broke into tears. I grew up within the span of 16 minutes and 28 seconds. I didn't care about what that meant about me. I didn't care about the genre. I care about Penny Lane and her story. And that's all I could think about. Anyway, the untitled song finally came out. It's called Memoria, and the chorus goes, "The past is the past for a reason." I guess that's oddly appropriate. Indie is dead, but I am not.